The Ash experiment is one of psychology's oldest and most popular pieces of research. A volunteer is told that he's taking part in a visual perception test. What he doesn't know is that the other participants are actors, and he's the only person taking part in the real test, which is actually about group conformity.
Please begin. The experiment you will be taking part in today involves the perception of line length. Your task will be simply to look at the line here on the left and indicate which of the three lines on the right is equal to it in length. So, for example, if you think
The actors have been told to match the wrong lines. The volunteer will be monitored to see if he gives the correct answer or if he goes along with the opinion of the group and gives the wrong answer. In the first test, the correct answer is 2.
1. 1.
1.
2.
1.
Once again, the correct answer is 2.
3.
3.
3.
3.
3.
The Ash experiment has been repeated many times, and the results have been supported again and again. We will conform to the group. Again, we're very social creatures. We're very much aware of what the people around us think. We want to be liked. We don't want to be seen to rock the boat, so we will go along with the group. Even if we don't believe what people are saying, we'll still go along.
1.
1.
1.
1.
Group dynamics is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology.
1.
Often referred to as informational social influence or social proofing. Social proofing can be defined as the human tendency to believe that others around them might know more than they do, and thereby making decisions based on what others are doing, particularly as more people lean toward one behavior, decision, or purchase. Social proofing can be seen everywhere in today's society. It can be as harmless as waiting to see if a classmate raises their hand before you do, or laughing if somebody else decides to laugh. It is also widely used on websites, in advertisements, and on television in an attempt to gain interest, make money, and to promote products. It is beneficial to know different methods of advertising before making any important or pricey purchases. Some companies don't necessarily care about the quality of their products. It's all about the quantity that they sell and the money that they're able to make. The pressures to conform seem to be everywhere, and things probably aren't going to change. Naturally, people want to fit in and be considered part of a social in-group. So, how are we able to maintain our individuality without becoming an outcast? I believe that by being aware of the different types of conformity and being able to recognize peer pressure is a step in the right direction. Don't be afraid to say no to things that you may not want to do. Stand up for the things that you believe in. Sometimes, standing out from a crowd can be better than blending in. But also remember that sometimes it's okay to conform. It's natural to look to others for information, and sometimes we do it without even thinking about it. In my opinion, it's all about awareness and being able to be an individual with your own thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. In conclusion, normative social influence is basically the need to be liked by other individuals, which leads to conformity and possibly being a victim of peer pressure. Informational social influence, or social proofing, is looking to others for information when we aren't quite sure how to act. It can also be seen in many of today's advertisements and on almost every website. Being aware of the different forms of conformity will allow you to make informed decisions and be the exact person that you want to be.
Psychologist Robert Cialdini of Arizona State University spent 3 years examining the universal principles and tactics of these influence professionals from the inside. As a sales trainee, fundraiser, and advertising copywriter.
One of the universal principles I found is the principle of reciprocation, which suggests that we are obligated to give back to others the form of behavior that they have given to us. So if someone does us a favor, we're significantly more likely to say yes when they ask for a favor in return. That's why the Hare Krishna, for example, society in the airport will come up to you and give you something before they ask for a donation. It can be a flower, a book, whatever.
And this bottle will be produced only 2 or 3 times a decade.
A second principle that we can talk about is the principle of scarcity. The idea that things that are rare, that are scarce, that are diminishing in their availability to us are more attractive. We want them more. As a consequence, many merchandisers will use strategies in which they'll give us time deadlines or availability limits on a product they want to sell, and because we can't have it after a certain time, we want it more and we go out and buy it. Another principle we can talk about is the principle of authority. This is the idea that we're much more willing to follow the lead of someone who is a legitimately constituted expert or an authority.
It's reinforced for me. And me. Hey, maybe it was made for both of us. Must be magic. Now that's who this shoe was made for.
Another principle we can talk about is the principle of commitment. The idea that once we've made a stand, once we've taken a position on an issue, we're much more willing to say yes to any request that is consistent with that commitment. So very often, individuals will try to get us to make a small commitment that is consistent with the direction they want us to go. For example, a study was done in Toronto that showed if you can get people to agree to wear a little lapel pin that says "Support Your United Way," 2 weeks later they will be twice as likely to give a donation to the United Way when the solicitors come and canvass the neighborhood. Another principle we can talk about is the principle of liking. People are much more willing to say yes to a request to someone they know and like. Of course, the classic example of this is the Tupperware party, where they have arranged so that we are saying yes not to a stranger across a counter. We're saying yes to a friend or a relative who's invited us there, and we know we'll be getting a cut of everything we buy.
Made a special evening for me.
A final principle we can talk about is the principle of consensus. The idea that we're much more willing to say yes to a request if we have information that a lot of people around us are saying yes to that request. So people can give us evidence this is the largest selling, the fastest growing product, and we're much more willing to say, yes, this is something for me because everybody around us is doing so.
The question is, what is the foot-in-the-door technique, and how do nonprofits use it to generate more support for their cause? So the foot-in-the-door technique is, in some sense, one of the oldest tricks in the book. It's a technique used both by for-profit companies and nonprofits all the time in trying to get people on board, be it with making purchases or with supporting the nonprofit through donations, volunteering, and changing their behaviors, and so on and so forth. Basically, the way the foot-in-the-door technique works is this. If I want you to make a particular change, I'll be more effective by, instead of just asking you to make that large or significant change, first asking you to do something small, even something symbolic, something inconsequential, something that you're likely to say yes to. Now, for nonprofits, that could be getting you to wear a pin. It could be getting you to sign a petition saying you support my cause. Then, once you've made that small change, or taken that small action, I wait for a little bit of time to pass, and then I go back to you, and I make the larger request that I really want out of you. For example, I'd really would like you to donate $100, or I'd really would like you to go vegetarian, or whatever other change I want to make, a change that's more substantial. As long as the first small request is similar in nature to the second larger request, you'll now be more likely to go ahead and make that larger change than if I just asked you to make that larger change right from the start. This is what the foot in the door technique is about. It's about getting, literally and metaphorically, our foot in the door by getting someone to make a small change, and then once they've made that, use that as a wedge to get them to make a larger and larger change. And this is very well documented in the literature. There's literally over 1,000 studies conducted in the US and abroad that have demonstrated the power of the foot in the door technique.